What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Evening Alpha. I am your host, Todd. It is another beautiful night. My favorite time of year, fall. I love it. I can't do without it. I love fall. It's super cool. It's always my most creative time. It's the time when I get the most stuff done. Yeah, man, I can't. Nothing fires me up more than meeting NFT founders and talking to friends and project owners and everything else. So we have a phenomenal guest for you guys tonight. Before we jump in, I do want to mention we are having another giveaway tonight, as always, with our wonderful guests. So all you have to do is like, comment, and subscribe. So subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that. Like the video and leave a comment in our chat for tonight, and we'll bring up Dusty towards the end, and maybe we'll pick somebody, or maybe we'll do it in Discord. I'm not sure. We'll figure that part out. But Dusty will start posting stuff to remind you guys in chat. So be sure to win. You win. It's a winning thing. Why not do it? All you got to do is chat. It's really easy. Anyway, guys, with that said, I cannot wait. I'm very excited to introduce to you someone that I've known for a while. We've had a lot of good conversations. His project is awesome, and I'm super stoked to bring him to you guys, to the Evening Alpha crowd. Please welcome Hadrien Royo from CryptoZ. What's up, man?
Thanks, Todd. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, dude. I can't wait. We always have great conversations, and it's been a while, so I feel like we're gonna have a good conversation tonight, dude.
I know it's been long overdue, and like so much has happened in the space, so I can't wait to actually hear your perspective on some of this.
I know we were all young and shit when we started.
I know.
Well, so first question, only question, really. What is CryptoZ?
Yeah, so CryptoZ is sort of a X-Files meets Jurassic Park world that started as an audio drama. I came from film school. I went to NYU grad film, and my thesis was like, okay, we need to make a TV show. We need to make something big for Hollywood. I want to pitch something to Disney. And with my partner, Daniel Trisoni, who's a New York Times bestselling novelist, we started to craft this like really high produced audio drama called CryptoZ. And that was like 2 to 3 years ago. And CryptoZ meant it was short for cryptozoology. I had no knowledge of Web3 at the time. And we put the first 5 episodes out there in Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever. And then in a few months, we had like 400,000 downloads. The show did really, really well. It was super, we have like 13 actors from around the world. Very proud of the work we did. And we're like, okay, now let's go to Hollywood and let's make X-Files. So we go through the whole entertainment thing and find a showrunner, producers, and start to pitch. And next thing you know, Disney makes an offer it was ABC Signature actually. Disney makes an offer to buy the show. And I was like, the negotiation was, dragged down, and I was like falling down the Web3 rabbit hole the whole time. And it was, the bull market. I saw the NFT project. I was like, I think I can do something here. And we're like, okay, well, maybe we should just kind of like not deal with the old world, and this is where entertainment industry is going to be moving forward next. So why don't we keep the IP, and why don't we launch as an NFT project, as a decentralized community on IP? Can we do something there? So that's basically how we got here. And now the idea was a lot of things happening in the meantime, including bear market, but a lot of things happened. I went to C Club, I went to Kernel, Gitcoin, a few accelerators, and started to craft about a protocol or a DAO that like could hold IP and think about what it's like to be, what could be a community owned IP, what could be a Star Wars if it were to be launched today. And that's basically what CryptoZ is, our first experiment, and we experiment with our own work rather than throwing some other writer under the bus. And we're not fully launched yet, but we have 95% of the artwork done and feeling in a good place to launch maybe into 2023. What is it this year anyway?
I know, I don't even know anymore.
I know, somewhere in a few months.
Yeah, sometime in the next year. It's fine. Time flies anyway. You're good. Everything's fine. So that's interesting, man. So since last time we talked, did you do the accelerators since last time we talked?
So I think I started the accelerator when we started to talk. Actually, I met you through John Silky. Do you remember?
I think so. Yeah.
He recommended you, and I was just beginning C Club, and it's just beginning the process. So
That's right.
That's right.
Wow. Okay, so you went through.
Hey, John.
Yeah. The C Club, and C Club is awesome for anyone that hasn't checked it out. C Club is absolutely cool. So
very cool.
Yeah. So did that? So going through C Club, did that end up kind of changing your direction? Because it wasn't, CryptoZ was more of a, like when we were talking before, and correct me if I'm wrong, right? Like I remember it being like, okay, I mean, obviously it was the one property, and I know you're still working on the one property, but it seems like the idea has expanded a little bit to now say, okay, now it's more of like a potentially a DAO concept where you can actually plug in different IPs.
Yeah, because it grew into this umbrella DAO called Tell It Together, and I was like trying to think about how to create a sustainable, everybody talks about decentralized Disney, patati patata, but the idea was like, okay, if I'm going to do this for CryptoZ and bring on writers from the entertainment industry, like they're gonna have their own ideas as well. They're gonna want to launch their own IP. Is there like a bigger model behind it where actually we can be launching several IPs in a course of a year? Maybe the DAO and Tell It Together, which is the name of the DAO, can own 20% of the CryptoZ IP, and that's the members of the DAO would be able to vote and be able to like greenlit other creators, other properties, other pitches, and start to like expand on that front as well. Because I think if you're a fan of a show, of a creator, the creator will never do as much. He cannot release as much content as fan wants. It's like it takes a year to create like 10 episodes, but like it takes an hour to listen to all of them. So so the community is always going to be hungry for more content. They're going to want to be supporting other creators. They're going to be liking, if they like X-Files, they might be liking something else. So I was thinking about something bigger that could, bring on other writers in Hollywood, because we should not underestimate how much creators hate Hollywood and are being exploited by them. So I thought this was more important.
Yeah, I like that, man. It's a strong move, I think. And you're right. I mean, a lot of just within this year, there's been so many creative people, even the desire is strong to move away, because because being in the NFT space or digital collectibles or crypto or whatever you want to call it, still has a little bit of a stigma to it, right? But it's not
totally.
And for creators, it's like a big freaking deal, because they can lose their jobs over it. You know what I mean? Like they can completely get blacklisted from the creative industry for doing something that the Goliath sheep don't want. You know what I mean? And so for them to move over and do stuff in our space is like, it's a big deal.
It's a big deal. I'm actually quite fired up about this. So like I launched Stingy Jack for Halloween. It was our first like story NFT character, just for fun and an experiment. But like just by doing that, I lost another 10% of all my subscribers on my newsletter. Like the amount of like anti-crypto feeling around creators and around, I'm sure musicians are going through the same thing. Like we're getting hit right away just by mentioning NFT in an email. And we lose like 10%, 30%. I mean, it was 30% when I first talked about it. And before it was like for climate reasons, and now Ethereum is gone like below,
There's always an excuse.
And now I don't even know what the reason is. It's like, well.
Can I tell you a secret? Hadrien, can I tell you a secret? And this is true. And I talked to a lot of founders, and I've seen a lot of things. Like the challenge isn't us. right? And I really mean that. Like, we understand the technology. You just made a logical argument. You're like, yeah, well, it was the environment, but now Ethereum is 99% carbon neutral. So what now? And that's a bogus argument anyway, because it doesn't, it assumes that the stuff lives in a vacuum, right? Like I mean, I could tee off on that. Like, okay, I'll give you an example. And I won't lose my place. Like, okay, so what was it? It's something like, someone told me that, like, oh, well, the blockchain causes something like 52 million tons of carbon every year, right? And that was before Ethereum dropped. But let's just say Ethereum.
It wasn't even that big of a deal before.
No. Well, here's the thing. Yeah. Okay, 52 million tons of carbon. Okay, cool. Let's say that that's bad, and whatever, right? Let's say that is your marker for it being bad. Cool. And so I did like 30 seconds of research. And the global banking system is 2 billion tons of carbon every year. And so what the crypto side is doing is it's reducing by a factor of X, you know what I mean? Like, the amount of carbon, because when you don't go to the ATM, there's not all these wire transfers, you're not using bankers and all this kind of shit. It's a complete non-argument. Take on top of that, any one of us that makes an NFT or a digital collectible, I actually heard the founder of Vive talk about this, and I was like, that's a brilliant point. He got furious with somebody for it one night, and he said, why don't you talk about the hundreds of millions of tons of molten plastic that we're not using?
No, I mean, it's like it's an obvious point, and it was obvious before. I don't know why I don't know where it started. I think it started with Bitcoin. I don't know. I didn't know Bitcoin at the time, but it still feels like it's not such a big deal anyway. So I think people are afraid. I don't know what to do. I mean, I think it's going to take years. I think the word blockchain and NFT might just be erased from the vocabulary, and it will all melt into internet, and it'll be like, hey, you can have this digital asset.
That's the secret.
And people won't even know. And they'll be on the blockchain. They won't even know.
That's right. That's the secret. And the reason I know that that's the way it's going is because most of the critics, most of the people who don't like blockchain or don't like NFTs have never owned an NFT, have never minted an NFT, have never sold or traded an NFT. They don't know what GUI is. They don't know what gas is. They don't own a MetaMask wallet. They're trying to criticize something they don't understand, and they just don't like it because they don't understand it. And one of the reasons you can recognize this is that most of the projects, a lot of projects now, and we're actually thinking about doing this too in our marketing, is not using the term NFT and just calling it a digital collectible, because the same people that hate NFTs love digital collectibles. And if you don't believe me, you can look at Reddit's latest drop. We were just talking about this on a Twitter space last week. Reddit is anti NFT. We never posted there because I was like, I don't want anyone to get their feelings hurt. Like, it's just a horrible, they don't like NFTs as a culture, and that's fine. So Reddit comes out and says, hey, everyone, to all its, dude, Reddit could have shut down over this. You know what I mean? But instead they say, everyone, we're launching our very first collectible digital avatar supported by the blockchain. And what it'll do is it'll live in a Reddit vault. And people are like, oh, they onboarded 3 million people by calling it a vault instead of a wallet and digital.
And people, I see. So they had to create the wallet, and then they had people sign up. They thought they're just gonna sign up to something.
No, they created a custodial wallet, right? Because they don't want anyone to have to go anywhere, which makes sense. And so, you would go through the process, and you bought your avatar, and when you hit the buy button, it says, it looks like you haven't set up your Reddit vault yet. Let's do that. And you make your Reddit vault, and then you mint the NFT, whatever the language is. They probably didn't use the word mint, probably used the word buy. So you buy your you buy your digital collectible avatar, and then it goes into your custodial wallet, vault. And then, if you want to transfer it to OpenSea or wherever, you totally can.
You could. It just happened to be compatible.
Yeah.
So what do they call the seed phrase? They just call it
password.
Here's your big password.
Password. They called it a password.
It's a big long ass password. You
Yeah,
should
keep your
really
password.
remember it because we don't have it.
That's right. Keep your password safe.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's where we're at, and I think the only, to some degree, they, not to throw stones at people, I think they have a good point in terms of like all the crazy stuff and the scams and the speculation and all this stuff, and what's happening with the royalties right now with NFT creators who are suddenly realizing, oh, hang on, my NFT collection is not permissionless, and I actually have to ask OpenSea to authorize the royalties that I thought I could build a business on. And I think that's going to be a big story. I think it's just unfolding. I think it's going to,
what do you think is going to happen?
I think it's going to be very big. It's going to be a big problem. I think, Web3 was promising permissionless and trustlessness to creators for about 4 years. And it's I think creators are going to feel embarrassed. They're going to feel betrayed. I think if there was one thing you wanted to do to kind of delay the next bull run or to delay the experiences people or the masses, would want to have on Web3, I think that's one way to do it. I think, as artists, I'm especially thinking about musicians, our careers, the value goes up over time. We just constantly invest in ourselves. Think about directors, George Lucas, like Star Wars was worth nothing. It was like his friends thought it was like the dumbest film ever. Like, things get value over time, especially in the IP space, especially in the music space, especially in the art space, and it's going to desensitize artists. It's a problem, I think. But hopefully there's a new NFT standard that comes out, and a new solution to kind of wrap the NFTs in a permissionless way. I don't know. What's your take on it? I was a little bit.
I get pretty furious about it, to the point where, I think so. The platforms that are making it optional, I think, is a massive mistake.
And
we're pretty, and the way I think about it, to me, it's theft, because I don't have a choice as a project owner. I get no say in who gets to sell it. Like, I don't get the choice to say, hey, looks rare, don't sell my stuff. Hey, X2Y2, don't sell. Like, I don't have an opt out, right?
I see it as censorship.
Yeah, it's censorship. They can say and do whatever they want, and I can't stop it. And I think it's going to create a backlash in that any platform that wants to compete with them, all they have to do is say, we do support creator rights. And I can tell you what we're going to do. So there's a couple things. The first is, and I don't know if you've seen this, it's brand new, so I don't even know all the details. My devs are looking at it, but just yesterday, I think OpenSea launched some kind of new contract that allows for royalties to be, and I don't know what it does. Yeah,
I think it starts only like for new collection in December.
Yeah, but I don't know. But it's something you add to your smart contract, and I'm not exactly sure. Like, I'm not totally sure what it does. But it's,
the problem is, like, everybody is like blaming the marketplaces, but it's like they're kind of doing what the blockchain allows them to do, and the promises was like blockchain is permissionless and is trustlessness. Right. And you realize actually the NFT smart contract ERC 721 doesn't know the difference between a sell and a transfer. So it doesn't. So Stingy Jack, for example, let's take the character NFT we launched for Halloween. Stingy Jack is this character is a true legend and very, like a CryptoZ character, but it's not canon to the series, but it's the story behind Jack-o'-lantern and everything we have for Halloween. We launched it, and I created a contract with 80% royalties. Stingy Jack is going to get 80% of all royalties forever, or that's what he thinks, right? It was created with the Manifold, which is one of the best. I love them. And the idea was like, let's make a trick or treat option for holders. It's like, okay, you can sell Stingy Jack on OpenSea and trick him, and you're just gonna eat your cake, and have it too, or whatever the expression is. And then, or you can treat him and go on a marketplace that would transparently, permissionlessly allow on-chain royalty split from the smart contract of the NFT, which none of them do apparently. So the only option is to trick Jack, and that's kind of like so he's really pissed. Jack is really pissed right now, and he's launching the Stingy DAO, and he's pledging that all the royalties he will ever earn over the course of a year would go to an award ceremony called the Stingy Awards, to a project that helps creators on Web3 to be empowered and permissionless.
That's awesome. That was really cool. I was wondering what the story was behind it. I don't, just to wrap up our the royalty convo, like we're seriously considering blocking IP, blocking the addresses, because if you don't allow us, like for us, we get royalties, but those secondary royalties go directly to the community. I mean, that's part of it. It ties into our contest,
totally,
and everything. And the other thing is like, this, Hadrien, like when you launch an NFT, it's not like you just get to launch an NFT and it's all good. Like I launch an NFT and then like the next week I have to go to every platform that's invented and try to make the banners and get this up and try to make my profile look nice because I want the collection to look nice, right? And again, there's no and if you're not going to support me, then I'm not going to support you. Why would I make the banners and make the thing look cool? I'll just block the IP or redirect it to some JPEG that just says this platform doesn't support creators. Go to OpenSea.
And it's a catastrophe. And I think also like people don't realize, but creators live up to like how the market values their NFTs. And if you think, like we do feel very guilty if, luckily I'm pre-launch, but if people paid like 50 grand or 10 grand or even $1,000 for an NFT, I'll be like, okay, I have to live up to this, and I have to create experiences that are worth having that NFT, and I have to, I feel like I have a responsibility to do everything I can to keep it going and to keep the value, to keep it at least, at a similar value. And if you remove the one thing that we were like thinking we were going to have, like, is to keep, to like, okay, to hire a team, to hire, we have a huge amount of expenses. It's just, they're going to ruin the space for a long time unless somebody comes up with a solution real quick. I think it's going to be bad.
Royalties what is still the number one thing that has gotten me to onboard artists and creators who never understood it. Like the minute we talk about it, I'm like, one word, royalties. And they're like, what do you mean? And then I explain it and they're like, no way. Because they've never had it.
It is the number one innovation that Web3 was going to bring to creators. Yeah. Turns out that NFTs are only succeeding because of creators, which I think the designers of the NFT didn't expect. But like the creators are the ones who make this entire industry possible. And they only did it on this assumption that this thing that was never possible before, a new way to approach royalty streams and revenue over time so that it can compound with their career and they can kind of build up on top of it, is turning out to be like I'm not going to say rug, but it's turning out to be not what they expected. And I think it's an embarrassment for them. What am I supposed to say to my writers? Like, the writers are like, hey, you're going to earn royalties and you're going to own your IP and you can start your stories. And you're like, well, hang on, you're going to earn your royalties only if OpenSea agrees to it. And you're like, okay, that sounds like whatever we have today.
If OpenSea, I don't think OpenSea would ever turn it off because they're not stupid. But if they did, all that would happen is every single project on Earth would go centralized and just everyone would have their own marketplaces, which I think would be a shame. It would be a shame, but that's probably what would end up happening.
And then to wrap up, because maybe we don't want to rant the whole time, but is there a way for you to ask? Because I want to know why, if there is a developer or so, can you ask a question to anybody? Or I'd love to know why development, like why that was built this way, and can we have a new NFT standards that's like enforceable in this, on the royalty
Maybe
side.
I can't remember. We've talked about it a number of times here, and I know there's a very logical reason why it's very difficult to do, and I can't remember what the answer is.
Okay.
But yeah,
Next, we'll follow up on that.
We'll follow up on that for sure. So, oh man, I love it. So what else? So you got the jack-o'-lantern is up, and I love it. So one of the things CryptoZ I love about CryptoZ is that you put a tremendous amount of work into the project, right?
Right.
I know you've got the kind of the Halloween theme going up now. I've got it on my screen over here. But knowing what the website looks like and all the stuff that you've been putting into it, like you put a ton of work into this, man.
Yeah, it's been a long time. So the idea is like, how do you decentralize IP and how can you make it owned by a community? Well, first you have to kind of like release all the possible characters that could ever possibly exist in that world. And one way to do it is to start with, in the case of CryptoZ, and then it would be different for different IPs, but in case of CryptoZ, it would be the creatures. And each episode, each adventure, everything relies on going into this contemporary world that we live in and trying to discover what's behind the paranormal case that we're trying to investigate, and why those creatures are appearing around the world. There has a backdrop of climate change if you listen to the show. And so can we release the entire lore? Can we release the entire creatures? They're all based on true and verifiable legends around the world. We carefully make sure that every culture, some of them are really well known and you recognize them, and some of them you've never heard before. And there's 1,812 right now of those stories. And the problem is with those NFTs is like, once you start to like design for a creature and a story that exists, you can't really make it random anymore, and you kind of have to write the metadata by hand. So it's been a year we're at it, and we're finally finishing the entire collection. We're finishing with the dragons. This is not an alpha or anything, but we've acquired some skills, and we decided we're going to keep the dragons and the draconids for the very end. So we're at work to finish the last 100, and then we'll do another pass, and then and then we'll be moving to launch mode, I guess.
So they're all drawn by hand. All the metadata is done by hand.
And all I mean, you have to name it because it has to have a name. It has a story, right? It's like those NFTs have a story. It's not so much about the art. I mean, the art is gorgeous. I'm very proud of it, but it's like it's just meant to give you just enough to imagine what the creature could be like if you see it in real life. It's a bit like Jaws. The least you see, the better. So we're kind of like limiting ourselves to an eye we're trying to tell the entire story in the eye of the creature that you can own and then wear it as a PFP. But it has a story to tell, and so you have to name it. You have to make sure it's embedded into the metadata so no one can change it in the future. You have to think about all those things, and then this is not something an algorithm can do. It has to be manual and write it down one by one. So it's like, okay, this is the Leviathan, okay, and this is the Sasquatch, and okay, this is the what is this, the Kirin, okay, in China, okay, this is African, whatever.
So when this launches officially, like what are your plans on creating tools that allow for people to kind of dive into each of these creatures, and like, are there? I'm making an assumption, although I kind of know the answer. Like, because
this new stuff.
But like, is it like? And I don't know what I can say, but like, is it? Yeah, I'll just leave it like that. Like, what kind of tools do you have that are allowing people to kind of like modify or kind of take ownership of whatever it is that they have?
Totally. So one of the things we're doing right now is we just signed a partnership with Lens, the Lens protocol, and we're going to start to release. So I onboarded like 5 writers, and then it's going to be more and more, but we're just kind of like trying it out. But we're going to start to release stories and narratives you can that are going to be published on Lens, and you can follow on Lenster and other platforms, and you'll be able to start collecting little pieces of snippets of IP through the stories that those writers are working on. I'm making my own stories as well. And next thing will be all of those stories will ultimately lead to launch, and we're thinking about everything I'm saying right now is like with a grain of salt, but we're thinking about a sort of noun system where we're really seeing the creatures one by one, whether it's like 1 a day, 2 a day, 4 a day, maybe it's, maybe we want to wrap it up in a year, but to try to have the time to build a story around them, and then to invite the community to learn about them and to like think about that. That's one option. The other option is to just kind of release as a sort of mystery box, and you just kind of mint, and you try to you kind of discover the creatures you have minted after the fact. And I'm still torn about it. Actually, I was going to ask you what you thought would be the best launch strategy.
Yeah, there are pros and cons to each, right? I love the nouns model. I've looked at that. I've looked at that myself for a possible future idea. I think the challenge with that is with rarity. It does interesting things. It does interesting things to the game mechanics, because if you kind of just shuffle the characters and you say it just launched like maybe the dragon comes on day 7, assuming that that's a rare, the rare thing, right? Like that does something interesting in that if it forces people to come back every day.
Right. I know, because it's like every day there's a little snippet of story you want to discover. Like, what's the story of, what's the monster of the day or the monster of the week? Mm-hmm. So if I wanted to emphasize the story, I would do it once a day. And then I felt like if I wanted to emphasize like FOMO and stuff, I would do like a surprise thing. And then if you're like, oh, I like this one, I want more.
I think.
I'm really torn.
The other thing is you have to think. There's a couple things. So the first is if you drop it every day and you have a rarity tier, let's just say, I know this is mathematically difficult, nearly impossible, but let's just say that the dragons, let's just say I'm making it up, 7 dragons, and right. For whatever reason, you roll 20s and it's perfect, and all 7 dragons come out in the first 7 days, right? Well, then what does that, you have to think, and I don't necessarily have the answer, but you have to think about, okay, well, what does that do to the rest of the collection? If people know that the most special thing is now all claimed, like what happens when that's all claimed, right?
Here's the thing with like, if you're working with like true legend, is like, so the dragons happens to be quite rare. That's true. We have like 7 categories, and dragons are pretty rare, but like they're rare also because the stories of dragons are quite rare as well. So it's like, because every creature matches a story of legend, the rarity is sort of like embedded within the IP and the story itself. So like, for example, the insectoids, like we have an Ant-Man, we have like about 85 insectoids like that are in the lore, and they're all based on the stories. There wasn't that many insectoid stories and legends around the world, so it's supposed, it's going to be super rare, but at the same time, it's not necessarily like, it's not like an intentional thing, or it's not like saying, hey, we're really caring about the insect stories. Although I kind of like Ant-Man, but and there's some cool stuff. There's like this butterfly woman in Africa that's like this most gorgeous story. I made it really rare, but it's like, it's not so much, you know what I mean? It's like there's this like cultural element and human element to the rarity.
I like, one of the things that attracts me to the model, the nouns model, is in my opinion, one of the biggest challenges that most projects have right now is that there's multiple pain points for a project owner. You've got this build up to this launch, and it's so much work and so much energy. And when you go through that launch, it's literally like childbirth. And I don't mean that in a good way. I mean, totally. Just like, what the hell is happening? Like, boom, boom, boom. Like, it's just this crescendo of crazy. And then and then you're launching. So the launch itself is hard. And then I'm personally like on a mission to remove the stigma of the creative team that doesn't magically sell out in 24 hours or whatever. I think that's ridiculous. And I think it hurts the project. And so,
Right.
but there's still this pressure that oh my God, it's been 3 days and you still have a couple thousand. Oh no, like the market's still infantile. And so it doesn't really understand. It doesn't see past that yet. And so there's a pressure on the founding team to be like, we got to sell out. We just, whatever it fucking takes, cut the, it's incredibly stressful. And then when it's all over, regardless of whether you sold out or not, there's nothing there. Like there's nothing, like royalties can be there maybe in a bull market, but they sure as hell ain't there in a bear market. And so it's over.
Right.
So what ends up happening is you get this almost like, it's like the first thing you have to do as a creator in the space is create a heartbeat, which is like, boom, launch, boom, launch, boom, launch. And so that you have some kind of revenue coming in on a kind of some type of recurring basis, right? But I think the very next thing, either you do it instead of or right after, is cool. How can we have some kind of sale on a regular basis so that we can grow and thrive? And that might mean some weeks we don't sell anything, but that might mean some weeks we sell a lot. Who knows? And so that's one of the reasons why I like the Nouns model, because I think in conjunction with other things, you can have at least something on sale every day, like a normal, quote unquote, normal e-commerce store or a normal IRL store where, you would never go to the grocery store and it's like empty. And they're like, yeah, we opened yesterday and we sold all our food in 24 hours. So congrats.
Yeah.
Like,
I totally know what you mean, and you're making me love again with this idea again of like releasing it on a daily basis. One thing that we're innovating on top of Noun is that if you're actually participating in a mission, so the mission would be like every day you have to go and try to get that creature, and there's only one winner, obviously, it's an auction. But whoever participates in and put a bid will still be part of the community, will still be part of the DAO, will still have like some form of voting rights around what happens with the treasury. We'll still have, we still want you there. If it's not necessarily the richest guy or the richest woman who gets to have a say in where the DAO is going. I actually think it's a missed opportunity, because 99% of the Noun members are actually those who lose every day. So I don't want that, and I'd like to make sure actually our focus is on the people who bid, not so much on the winners. Of course, the winners are gonna get maybe a soulbound NFT for their the characters that will be coming after. I don't want to say too much, but you know what I mean. Like I want to really incentivize the participation and reward just being there and putting a bid. I think that's a huge step. I mean, it's like it's $5 interest. I mean, it's meaningful. It's a meaningful even if you're the first one. So that's something I'm really being mindful about, and I'd rather like focus my attention to the losers than the winners of auctions, for example.
Yeah, I like that. I like that approach. I like the fact that it's like, oh, even if you bid, you're still in the community, you still get something, something that unlocks future utility. I think I do think it, I will say on the flip side of the Noun thing, it's like, it's so easy to look at Nouns and be like, man, auctions, look how much they're making every day. Cause they're just like, what do they have, like $80 million or something? Like, it's
but
but I think for most founders, it's you have to be willing. I mean, if you have 2,000 pieces, that's like 7 years of,
Oh, we could do it we could do like every 3 hours, or the little Noun, or like every 15 minutes. So we could just like speed it up. We could also like change the rhythm, right? We start with once a week, then it turns into once a day, then it turns into once an hour.
I would want, if it was me, and again, I'm just talking off the cuff here, but like if it was me, I would want some mechanism set in there so that if the piece didn't get an auction, like if it got zero bids, that it actually it gets to be re-released. You know what I mean? Like it just goes to the end or stacks, because you're gonna have plenty. I would think, just law of numbers, man. You're gonna have tons of days. I mean, Christmas. You know what I mean? Like what's going to happen the last 2 weeks in December? Nothing. So you're going to have plenty of time when there aren't going to be sales. And so you, instead of having those things either go away, have them kind of reshuffle back into the deck or something.
Yeah, I think my understanding with Nouns is at the beginning they had a bot to place bids for them. I think that's a great idea. Or it goes back to the pool of and maybe something something happens to those creatures in the story. Like they go back to like the wild and
or they go to the DAO. They go to the DAO for
they do the DAO.
Right.
No, for sure. Yeah.
Just because my fear with that kind of stuff is like, you know, what happens if you know, I always try to think like worst case scenarios so that I can kind of plan for it. So it's like, okay, well, what happens if we don't get enough traffic or we don't get enough sales, or what happens if there's a month or two where the market's really bad and no one's buying anything? You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
you need to make sure that there's a contingency in there so that you're not like, you know, hopeful, like, yeah, we're selling out every day. And then all of a sudden it doesn't happen. So as long as there's a plan, like, I think it's good. You know, I mean, you know.
I have a follow-up question for you. If you knew the release schedule of like which story was going to be coming up next day, would you announce it as a teaser every week? Like, hey, this week is going to be this and this creatures coming up for this week. Would you say it in advance, or would you let it discover? You know, would you let people discover every day?
I would. That's a great question too. I think if you didn't want to do it in advance, you'd still have to come up with some other idea to get them to come to your thing every day. Right? You're going to have some kind of teaser to attract them to the drop every single day or every week, right? And it's very hard to get people's attention, especially nowadays. Like it's really difficult. So I would say definitely do that. In my opinion, you know, who knows? I mean, it's just one person's opinion, but then I would say, well, if there was a reason why you didn't want to, like, if you really didn't want to, like, if you wanted to keep it a surprise, then I would figure out some other way as a teaser, you know, a graphic of an egg, or then the egg is cracking or whatever. And I don't know, that's more art and more work, but do you know what I'm saying? Like there would be something, there's got to be something at all times that draws people to the thing, or like nobody's going to show up, you know?
Yeah, no, I was thinking of programming in a way that we would know which creatures are coming this week and be able to communicate around them, just because it's about the story again, you know. It's like, and I want people to respond emotionally to the stories, right? I want people to come in because they love it. They come in because they have an emotional attachment to it, because they respond to the stingy jag or whatever that's going to be, or it's, you know, so, and then I want the curious to come to learn about, oh, what's that creature and what that story, and just I want it to be more relaxed and around the IP and the story, because I think in the long term that's what's going to win. It's not going to be the speculators. So
yeah, I completely agree. Really quick, I'm going to go over to chat. What up, Willie D? Welcome. Rages, how's it going? Dusty, what's up? KG, how you doing? Everyone's saying hi. And be sure to leave a comment and like the channel and subscribe. If you leave a comment, we're doing a giveaway, free NFT. I think Dusty will tell you what that is later. But yeah, drop a comment and let's see what's up. So Hadrien, like, what are your, I'm curious, man, because one of the things that I like about our conversations is that you're like me, like I'm very transparent about things, right? Like you ask me like what's good, I'll tell you. You ask me what's bad, and I'll tell you. You know what I mean? Like I'm all right, you know? So like, I'm curious, like, because you've been grinding at this for a while. So I'm curious to know, like, what are some of the, from an experienced founder, because you've been in this a while, right? Like what are some of the challenges that you've had lately, or like within, certainly, you know, like it was almost like a cliff, you know, with the 2021 and like, yeah, oh my God, this is amazing. And then everything, like, it's all gone. So like, what have you found, like what has been a really big challenge and how you approached it to kind of solve it?
So there's been some, so I've been spending a lot of time discussing with VCs and like, okay, if we're thinking about a video game, if we're thinking about the metaverse, if we're thinking about comic books, film, I'm a filmmaker. I want to do comic books. I want those NFTs to come to life in so many different ways. And we're thinking about like, okay, if you have to rethink the entire entertainment industry, you need some partners and everything. I think this has been the challenge has been to transmit the perspective of an entertainment industry that's like creator driven, in which you kind of have to get your hands dirty into the IP and take backs on creative work and creative people, and that's something that's really hard to they're like, everybody's talking about decentralized Disney, everybody's talking about so they get the tele together idea, they get some of that, but right now there's a lot of misunderstanding around copyrights. There's a lot of wait and trying to figure out what Disney is going to do and all the things, which I think is a is a non-problem to me, and it's irrelevant because this one thing they're not going to do is do community owned IP in the first place. So
Right. Yeah.
they're just they're going to do they're going to do what they've always done, and that's it. So I think it's just like not enough creators in the space, not enough storytellers in the space, especially. There's a lot of visual artists, a lot of musicians. There's no storytellers in the space right now. And so there's too much misunderstanding around what IP means, what CC0 is, like how those tools come together. Yeah, I'm curious to hear also your perspective on that front. Not enough storytellers, I think.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting though. I guess I come from a little bit of a different thing. I thought there weren't a lot of storytellers. And I think what's happening now is we're entering in I think when you and I started, there weren't any storytellers. Like
so maybe there's more now.
Yeah. When we jumped in, like, I can think of maybe one or two projects that were out there that were labeled like the storytelling project. And we were like number 2 or 3. I mean, just because there was only 2 or 3, you know what I mean? Like, or that's at least what it's, and like there was, and so even when we started Evening Alpha, we were like, well, let's try to focus on storytelling projects. That'll, basically our pitch was, okay, we're going to start with storytelling projects. And when we run out, we'll move into some of the other things. And to be honest, like, we haven't run out. Like, I think what's happening, Hadrien, is like 2021 was such a boom year and a bull run that nobody gave a shit. Very few people gave a shit about storytelling, right? You were there, I was there. Like there were definitely certain people that were like, no, storytelling first for longevity and for all the reasons storytelling is important. A lot of people didn't care about that. They were like, let's just get the damn money, woo. But what's happening now, I think there's been a shift where all of the new projects coming in know they have to have the storytelling first. And I think the reason more storytellers are coming in, or at least people, if they're not trained storytellers, they're at least looking at it through the lens, like, we have to build a world first, is because they're looking back at all these projects that came out at like 2021, and all of those projects are now trying to bolt on storytelling. And you know this, I know you know this. I know this just from my years doing it with Cartoon Network and Marvel.
It's too late.
It is impossible. It is so hard. It's almost, it's hard to explain to people who don't do it. But like, when you put something out there, there's instantly a brand and an idea put in every person has an idea of what that thing is. And if you try to attach a story later, there's no way you're going to hit the mark, because everyone's already made up their different minds about what this thing is. And so you're trying, all of a sudden you're like, no, we're going to put a story into it. And everyone's like, well, that's not what I was thinking the story was. Right. Like, that's
right. And how are you going to excite storytellers? How are you going to bring on a really good writer and tell him, hey, you need to really be excited by those 10,000 monkeys. They all look the same, I agree, but you have to really be excited about them and tell different stories somehow. Like it's just all those PFP projects are one character. I mean, I think you and I are working on, we're one of the few who work on like human based, personalities with a story, with a name, and like this like stuff that an actor can play. And we start with monsters, but then obviously we're doing the crypto Z agents and the people who are looking out for them. And I want the community to be able to like have a say into what their name is, what the gender is, what they look like, so that they actually can have a say in the IP itself. But so much of those projects are not built for storytelling in the first place, because they're not built for a character. They're not built for anything.
Yeah,
it becomes template.
It becomes much harder, man. And on the flip side, the storytelling projects that are out there, no matter how they launch their project, whether it's like individual characters like you and I, or whether it's like a PFP project where they're kind of doing randomized thing, when they have a foundation of storytelling, people enter the world and then they get to play. You've got to build the sandbox first so that people kind of understand some of the boundaries of it.
Exactly.
Right. And they get attached, right? If they like it, they like it because of the idea, right? As opposed to like some random design. And I think the PFP projects from 2021 and before that are going to last because they have some connection to art, right? I'm not just talking about art blocks, right? I mean, like if Bored Ape is around, it's because they hit a historic moment and there's it's kind of like an art piece that could become something else. CryptoPunks is an art piece, right? Like there are certain NFT PFP projects that move towards art, right? There are also PFP projects that launched and they tried to move into storytelling and completely bombed because people were like, well, I hate this game, or I hate this story, or this is not what I thought this was going to be. And everything starts to tank and it's almost impossible to bring that out. So I think that's going to be the thing that weeds out stuff from 2021, especially. And I think going forward, it's going to be you're not going to have that problem as much because people are going to jump into projects because they like the concept and they like the story or they like the universe.
Well, right? I really hope so. You make me feel better.
I think so. That's what I see. That's what I see.
I'm excited about that. I'm. Is there anything that? There's one artist that kind of excited me too. Is like, because I think people don't. We need to integrate token economics into all the things. And there's one artist that I like called Pack that obviously is very famous now, but it's a team, I guess. But I really like the idea of like creating art that's like, mechanic based, or like at its core has an intelligence around playing around the economy, or playing around the market, playing around those tokens or ERC20/NFTs. I was wondering if you have like similar thoughts around bringing another type of token into the mix and start to like build the narratives around other mechanics than NFTs.
Yeah. I mean, we have a list of a lot of things that we'd like to do. I mean, so so that we first have the adult fantasy case, right? And so the case is the graded case in the card, and that's its own thing. So that's an actual game engine. So the NFT is the game, right? And it's fully generative. So you and I get the same comic book, but yours is more damaged than mine is, and maybe that means it's valuable or something. So we kind of
interesting. Are you keeping the case for future? Oh, that's
yeah. So we've launched.
I love it.
So we did our original character drop in December, and then we did an Ashcan drop, which like mini comic. So we did a mini comic in the case, and then we did a partner drop with a group called Hell Draconis. So they do like animation and stuff. They're freaking awesome. So we did a comic drop for them. So we did Ashcans, like mini comics, like the collector cards, and then we're starting to move into other things. And so it's it instantly gives it a little bit of play. And so the next step, because we have this engine that has this real-time component and a dynamic component, right? It's real-time dynamic NFTs. So because we have that ability, there's a lot of things that we can do. Like for instance, one of the things that we talk about, and this is not I'm not saying we're going to release this, just so everyone's clear. This is just the kind of like stuff we can do that we talk about. I don't want, where is it, but yeah, as he Ray just is like, move into other things. Like what? They're all like, what are you talking about? Tell us the alpha, Todd. But I mean, for instance, like one of the things that you could do is like if so we have comics and we have a writer's room called Lore Games where the community comes in and we create stories. If one of the stories comes out and has one of our characters get beat up real bad, like they're in a big fight and they lose and they're just like beaten, and they win the fight maybe, but they're just like beaten and bloody or whatever. Well, then we can actually take their card, and we have on the back of the card, we have their power stats, and we can actually dynamically lower the power stats because they're damaged.
Oh, right? You're getting into this one thing you would like the first time we met, you're like, oh, let's not get into the dynamics. And I'm like, you should totally get into negative dynamics.
I know. Well,
Good. Storytelling, it's bad shit need to happen.
That's the thing. If it moves into storytelling, if it ties into it, then it makes a little bit of sense. And there's other things too, like, you can, I love the idea of like dynamically generated characters where you have a character and it's maybe a regular person. And then over time, by certain actions you take, it actually can turn into something else or something like that. Like there's a lot you can do with this stuff. It's the idea, the challenge is like how much is too much, right? Because it's really easy to go overboard.
Yeah, you can never be, evil enough. It's always like more punishment to be given for the sake of a great story.
Sure.
Characters can always be redeemable. We're the storytellers. We can always save them later. We can give them a happy ending. But people want drama. It's like the drama. That's what people keeps. I think it's underappreciated, the negative punishment. It hasn't been tried enough.
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, I also like the idea, like your character gets beat up, and then you look at your NFT, and the character's beat up on the NFT. Like
I know, it's so beautiful, and then it's suddenly, in a weird way, it's like unique because it's like the only one that's like
that's the only one that's beaten up. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I would love that.
Dusty says fine art pictures of Todd and I, claimable for physical 3 foot and 6 foot print. real that's torture. Funny. Real torture, sent to you whether you like it or not. But yeah, like
it will be installed on your wall in your living room.
That's right. Yeah.
We're just sleeping.
Yeah, we'll put it above your bed. But yeah, like I think I do think that's kind of one of the things that I've always talked about is that people made the NFT and then the word utility came into play. And so everyone used the NFT as a key to unlock lots of utility. And that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think one of my points, one of the things that I've been focused on, and our team has been focused on, is that the NFT is the medium, right? The NFT itself is the medium. So there's no reason why the NFT itself can't be the utility, right? Like, that's why we're like, well, what if we gamify it and all of the things are different? What if they can change? Like the NFT, like the thing, like, I don't know about, I can't talk to other people, but to me, like what I own isn't necessarily the utility. Like I love utility of NFTs and conferences and t-shirts and apparel, whatever. Like, but what I actually own, the asset that is mine, is the NFT.
Yeah, right? And I think it's also because you and I are working on characters and stories. Like it's something that has an immaterial presence and can be part of the culture, can be part of stories, can be part of comic books, can be part of podcasting, can be part of films, animation. I mean, there is always the potentiality that another creator can come in and develop that character further, give it a different spin, give it a different tone, can make it, and having, I think it's a very special thing to be able to own, to be able to own an NFT Luke Skywalker and how many characters, how many creators are there going to come and tell a new version of the stories of Luke Skywalker, but you're the one who owns that NFT, or whatever the mechanics are. But I think we're just scratching the surface of like storytelling in Web3, and I can't wait to see NFTs seen as like pieces of asset, pieces of cultural element that can keep evolving, and the having it is also part of having the history of it, but also the potentiality that it will become something else in the future, a different story, a different part of something. And we haven't talked about the multiverse and collaborations, but I can't wait for your characters to come into CryptoZ and vice versa. There's so many things we can do.
I love it.
Across DAOs, across I mean, it's going to be infinite.
It's really cool, man. Yeah, I 100% agree. And I think to your point, the idea that what I like about what you guys are doing at CryptoZ is, and I think we see this alike, kind of looking at that world of Lucas, or looking at that universe building corner of it, and understanding that the job is not to make, in my opinion, the job is not to make, for me, the job is not to make a video game. The job is to make an animated show. The job is not to make, like, that stuff is coming and it'll be great, right? But that's not the focal point. And the reason it's not the focal point, from my experience, when early on, when people would ask, well, why aren't you making a game? And I was like, well, what happens when they don't like it?
Right.
What happens if you build it? Right? Then the whole product, it's over, right? And this is something that like Marvel figured out. They went into bankruptcy because they didn't understand this. Back in the 90s, they got big and they got a ton of money, and so they bought a trading card company, and they bought a pop culture distributor, and they bought all these different companies, and they realized they didn't know how to run those businesses, right? And they bought a video game, like they just started making their own stuff, and that pushed them into the dirt. And what they realized, and thankfully it saved them, but the reason that they got saved is because they stood back and they were like, whoa, like, okay, what we're really good at is making characters and telling stories and building building the universe of the characters and the stories. And then based on the popularity of the characters and the stories, license it out to other people, right? That's why you can have 18 different Marvel games coming out at the same time, right? That's why you can have the Lego movie that has Marvel characters in it, and also the Marvel MCU. Like, you can have all these things happening at once because there's different licenses going out, and you get paid. And if that game sucks or that movie sucks or whatever, you don't get hit.
It's fine. Yeah, and there's going to be another one later. No, yeah. I 100%. So, I'm specialized in film and everything. So I would love to see a CryptoZ game. I would love to see all this stuff, but I'm not even like I would love to develop the creatures in Unreal 5. And I actually think Unreal 5 is kind of cool, but it's like, this is not my expertise, but I can't wait for somebody to show up and be able to take that part on. I 100% agree with you. I think it's even harder now that content is so devalued. Like, I mean, what can you do better than like a $8 or $10 Netflix subscription? Like, I mean, they're spending like $2,000 worth of content for each subscription, right? Más o menos. And so it's not about making the content, and this is why we have to take it a bit slower. It's about creating the passion around the character, and then creating what we know we're the best at, and what, in my case, it's going to be film or audio drama or anything kind of dramatized with actors and things like that. I'm hoping to see comic books come also, but I can't draw for shit. But maybe this is where we come together and like, hey, here's a story, and it's written, on it. Yeah, and I think also we haven't explored cross DAO partnerships. I think I can't wait to see CryptoZ Age and having access to like a special clothing brand and outdoor. I'm not gonna say who, but there's conversations. Or like, how do we take CryptoZ and like create events and travels and IRL experiences in the world. If you have a creature from Mexico, can you come here and we have a special event for ETH Mexico, and it's, there's like all those activations that we haven't even thought about yet, that are like have nothing to do with film, have nothing to do with game, have nothing to do with high production value, expensive production value, and it has everything to do with relationships, meeting each other, creating bonding as human beings, being together at an event, a Comic-Con or whatever. And yeah, there's so much untapped opportunities there as well to further expand the experiences of having that character or having that creature that you own.
Yeah,
That's how I think about it.
I completely agree, man. I wonder, like, how, like, I'm kind of curious how do you plan on managing the DAO? So I'm obviously I know Seed, and I love what they do, and I've been in the community. I haven't been in as much lately just because I've been so focused on other things. But it's such a challenge to me. Like I love the idea of the DAO, and I don't have any doubt that it's going to be a big thing, right? But I'll be on this, speaking for myself, like I'm a little afraid of it, because I think it's one of those things that if you're not careful could maybe, I mean, like any other project, let me put it like this, like any other NFT project, like there's so many landmines. I get a little bit afraid that it could screw things up. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. I think people are still confused around the idea of what is an owner, what is an audience, what is like a fan, and how do we interact with all those things. I can tell you by experience that most writers and most creators actually don't really want to have intense relationship with their fans, that they kind of want to just go away and release the book, and if they never meet, they're very happy with that. I think we have to think about DAOs as onions, like, okay, so my first layer will be my creators, my storytellers, and well, the hope was, and I still think it's the hope, is like the incentives can be taken care of through smart contracts. They don't actually have to interact with the broader community if they don't have to, or if they don't want to. Maybe they can even stay anonymous. But having this, like, can we create a safe space for the creators and the storytellers, so they don't feel like they're like trapped into this like game with fans who always want more. For example, not that, I mean, if you're a fan, I want more. I'm a fan of a few things, but can we create a safe space for them? Then can we create a safe space for illustrators? Maybe they're afraid of people as well. And it's like we have to kind of like have a human approach, and then think about the product. Like, if the product is good, if the story is good, people will come, the audience will be there, they'll come and listen, and then come and share it. They'll show up to the AMAs, they'll show up to the events. But I think we have to be very, very mindful to create it. I'm saying that again and again, but a safe space for creators, so that they don't have to be in an uncomfortable position. And I think it can be done. You just have to take the stuff they hate from their shoulders and one, give it to smart contracts to handle. So usually money and all the things, they don't want to have to deal with this. And then distribution is a huge deal. And I'd like to say one more thing about maybe Lens protocol, which I think is taking on one of the biggest problem in Web 2 at the moment, which is like, can we turn social media, and can we create a publishing protocol so that creators can comment on their audience, but at the same time be part of something bigger, so they can still benefit from the network effect, but also have ownership over their audience, their follows, and all the thing, and they don't get trapped into like the wheel mouse thing. So that's my a human approach. Like, I guess that's how I go about it. And then I really believe, and maybe that's my filmmaker director hat, but if I have a great actor, I will change the script for him, or her. I will change the story. I'll do whatever I can to make it fit for her, just because. And it's the same thing here. It's like, if I find somebody who has a special talent, I'll just, I'll push Cryptosy in the direction that fits their superpower. I think I wouldn't want to put anybody in a situation that don't fit them.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the challenge, right? Especially when you're, I mean, this is with any community, but you're working. Everyone comes from with their own backgrounds and their own kind of pluses and minuses and baggage and just experiences. And so it's very hard, I think, on any community, but especially as we grow our communities, it's really challenging to make sure that everyone feels like it's a welcoming place, and that, you're doing something, I can just speak from experience. Like, you always try to do the right thing, and you never want to, like, we never do anything that we would want to piss off the audience or piss off our
Right.
I mean, like, our AFM is everything to us. Like, if it's not for them, we don't exist, right? But with that said, it's also, that every time we launch something, there's someone that's not going to be happy. I mean, we have,
And that's okay. That's okay. You can't be for everybody.
Yeah, for sure. But you have, like, I mean, if you knew, and I'm sure it's the same with you guys. Like, I mean, we'll have someone will ask a question, and it'll be something that seems so minor, right? It'll be like, hey, so what about this? And like, internally, it'll be like 3 days of conversations. You know what I
mean? Is there like any example that you can share without, like, without no?
No, I don't want to call out anything. But it's just like, when it comes to like things with direction, or especially when you're doing like new releases. Okay, I'll give you this. I'll tell you the ballpark. So we did, because we were actually talking about this in the green room, and this would be a good topic to kind of end on too. Like, so we launched a new program where, so for adult fantasy, I talk about storytelling, and I talk about our storytelling platform is like a stool. And so if the storytelling is this base layer that you sit on, there's different legs of the stool that support it, right? And so one of the first thing that we launched was called Lore Games, and Lore Games is every Thursday night. It's live, and we are creating the huge, big. It's a 30,000 foot view. This is the massive milestones. This is the movie, right? This is like, this is Endgame and Infinity Gauntlet and all this kind of stuff, right? It's the big things that happen in the universe. And once you have point A and then point B, you can create it. You could create 30 years of content right there. Like, you always can come back to 20 years from now. We could go back and add a mini series or something that like, once you have those little flagpoles, you have like a really great guide. And so that was the very first thing we wanted to do, is this big umbrella. And then the next thing we've been doing that, and we finished our first season, and that turned into a novel. So we've got the novel being written now. The second season we're in the middle of, and we're still debating with the community about what that should be. It might be more of a graphic novel, but it just depends. I don't know, but that's the first leg. Then the second leg, which we launched a couple of weeks ago, we're just starting it out, is the Lore Games is the 30,000 foot top view, right? The next one we launched is the bottom tier, which is character creation. So we created something called the Character Foundry, and we're now running contests to allow our members to create their own characters, right? So there's like 3 different contests. It's like there's a name and attribute contest, there's a biography contest, and then there's what the character looks like. And then those 3 winners, first of all, that NFT, that character then gets drawn and gets added to the main adult fantasy like universe, right? And then the winning art gets put on its own NFT, like a creator series card. And then the 3 winners actually end up getting a percentage as a contest win. The reward is that they basically share a percentage pool of the total primary sales of the next drop.
Right? It's very cool.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you're doing that, because I'm going to ask you, because one of the things that I want to do with the people that lose the auction is like to get a redeemable contest where, like, hey, if you're creating a really funny character and the community votes for it, then you're in, you get an NFT as well. So I can't wait to learn. Are you started this or?
We're on round 2. So we got our first character. Our first winner was a member of our group called, his name is Wizard. Wizard won the art side, and then we had a couple other people won for the naming attribute and the bio, and then so we're starting the next character, but it's challenging. Like it's
right.
hard.
You have to deal with a lot of people who are unhappy about not winning.
And it's not even that. It was one of those things we came up with it internally, and I framed it just like I told it to you. You're like, oh, that makes sense. But once we wrote it, they said, okay, cool. We need to write this down and create the we need to create the directions and like how you're gonna play. And it's like a 15-page document. You know what I mean? It's huge. And then making sure people understand it. And then like I don't know if people really get it until the first drop. You know what I mean? Like sometimes we get a lot of people on these contests, and sometimes we get like 3. And you're like, no, don't you get it? You're gonna get like if the next character drop has like 6 characters in it, you're getting a percentage of
100%. Yeah.
And who knows if the drop is gonna be huge, great or not, but there's gonna be some kind of sales, like something's coming out of it. You're gonna get paid something. Take 30 seconds and make a name up. You know what I mean? It takes no time. We're a little bit of time for sure, but the payoff is so big, So
I wanted. There's so many things I've like in the course of a year thinking about like this, because the arc was taking a long time, so I had time to think about all the models, and like I was like, oh, we should have a token called agency, and I was like, by the time the idea was like ready to go, I'm like, the SEC was probably gonna kill me, and like there's like, okay, now that's illegal, so there's so many things people don't know. However, what my thinking is, okay, we're never gonna make everybody happy, but can we make everybody feel heard? Can we give them a space to like listen to them and take on whatever anger they might feel at the moment, and just be okay with like, okay, well, I get it. And at least there's nothing worse than, because I've been also for the course of a year, I really wanted to I went into like DeFi 3.0. I got rugged so many times. Like I wanted to experience it all. I'm like, if I'm gonna be in that space, I need to know how it feels like to be cheated on. And I just need to know exactly every emotion that you can come out of being in that space. And I think feeling heard is just like a huge a huge deal. And there's very, very few projects that do it well, but they have an AMA. Like there was one DeFi project that I really like, that they're not successful, but I really like the way they're successful as doing an AMA every week and bringing on angry people, and like, okay, well, let's make sure everybody had a chance to voice their concern, however angry that might be. So I don't know if this is helpful, but I think making people feel heard is what we can do, and then the rest is just experimenting.
And it's also just doing your best. I think like one of the reasons, I think what also helps, and this is just my own insight personally, but making sure that you're just there. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like we did. So every month we do a tally, a post. We try to do it every month. Sometimes we miss, but every month we do a post at the end of the month that recaps everything we did for the entire month. And I didn't invent it. We saw someone else do it, and I was like, "That's brilliant," because you forget. You know what I mean? Like,
right?
People miss things, and it's just you don't think about it. But so we just did ours for October, and for the month of October, not including all the other stuff, just with the live content like this, we did 31 live events in October.
Wow.
And so
that's one every day.
Yeah, basically.
Actually, is there like, yeah.
And well, it was more like, we miss a day here, then 2 the next day for something like tomorrow we do a Twitter space, and then Wednesday we've got probably a chill stream or another evening alpha, and then Thursday we have lore games, and then Friday we do like a nerd stream. And then, you know what I mean? So it was like boom, 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 boom. And so I think just at least what I know that I can control is to let people know that we're here.
Right.
We're if there's a day that goes by that we don't do something, then like either people know, they're like, is everything okay? You know what I mean? Or they're like, okay, well, the team deserves a break for the evening, or something came up, like, you know, we let them know. But we're here all the time.
And
yeah, so
you're making
Dusty said really quick. Dusty said live hangouts with the team, from Twitter Spaces to evening alpha to lore games to game nights. Yeah.
Jesus. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I would also say, like, I mean, I've never met another project like adult fantasy. Like you've always had like such an original approach to and that just should buy you so much leeway into like,
one would
we're making something new that's never been done before. So it's not going to always be perfect. It's like, well, some people are making like copycats, right? It's like, oh, this is what people want. Okay, I'll give you 10,000, 10,000 at PFP, whatever. Like you went like, okay, you're not going to go the rarity before how many years? Like by the end of the card, it's like, you're just like, oh, is that what people want? I'm going to just go to the opposite. It's like, and
that is adult fantasy, doing the opposite of what people want.
So, and it's so unique, and I think in the long term, I think it's amazing, because it's like it. But if we have to, I guess we have to accept, that we're different and we're doing something that nobody else is doing. It's like, oh, do you want me to do it like them? Then here you go. You won't know for 4 years. Come back.
I just would, Hadrien, I know, and I think you're the same way, man. Like we could both drop everything right now and create a PFP collection with 10,000.
I know,
10,000 animals with rare types, and we would be bored to death, dude.
It would be so fucking bored.
It'd be such a disappointment. We'd be so bored, at least.
I know. It's like, and I know exactly how to do it. You're gonna have 200 layers of this and 200, and you can do it in like 3 weeks. And then it's like, okay, and then you're like, okay, you click the button, and then it's like, and they're all called white. They're called 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's still, it's like, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I got number 2. It's like, okay, have fun with that. It's so boring. I mean, I kind of went to the space because like it was so bored. It's like, okay, why?
Yeah.
What's the story? What's the name? What's like? What does he do? Like, what's?
That's why you're.
Why is it interesting?
That's why we're both handcrafting every damn.
I know, and I'm like, okay, hang on. So 1,811. Okay, I'm so lucky. I'm so lucky. I have an illustrator that's just gonna put up with this. But
dude, that's incredible. You found somebody who's like stuck with the whole thing, man. That's crazy.
We thought it would take 3 months, literally. That was like last year.
That's same with us. When we started, we were like, we said, okay, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna invent this thing, and we'll have it in 3 months, 4 months max. And it took us like 12. It took us like 9 months. Oh my god, dude, like so hard.
But I think if the thing is, like, if it was easy, other people would do it. And I think at the end of the day, it's gonna feel so special that nobody's gonna dare copy us. It's like, am I gonna go and do that? No, it sounds crazy, and then we'll be the only one. And
that's right. You gotta carve. I mean, it's what they say about carving out your own. It's a blue ocean, right? Like every market has a red ocean, and that's where all the sharks are, and it's like super saturated. Like I feel bad for new people coming in who just now got the bug, like, and they finally had the aha moment with PFPs. And you know what I mean? Like, you know how it is. You come in and you're like, and you don't get it, and then finally you do get it, and you're like, oh, I get it now. And then you get inspired to create something, and all these people are going to come in, and there's going to be a lot of them that come in and get inspired, and they're going to create derivatives of what's already been passed, and they're not even going to know that time is over. Like, they're not even going to.
They're way over. It's like the market sentiment is gone. I mean, a super popular PFP that I was in. Also they made a mistake. They released a free one first and everything, but like they had to they minted it was a 10,000 collection. They minted 3,000, and like 2,500 were people who are already in and got one for free. It's like it just didn't work at all. But they, I'm confident they're going to be able to bounce and they close the collection and change plans. But It's true. It's like you know, you like you get the bug for something, it takes a year to prepare. By the time you finish, it's like, okay, people are moved on and they want something completely different. Unless you listen to yourself, you do something you're genuinely excited about, you do something with stories, you know, something that no one else can do, and that doesn't matter. It's timeless, you know.
Hmm. I agree 100%. Well, Hadrien, man, this has been a phenomenal conversation, dude. I knew it would be good. I'm glad we got a chance to catch up. Anything else you want to talk about before we jump?
No, I mean, you know, next time maybe we talk about copyrights and CC0. I think there's been so much, but next time
we can definitely do this again. We'll talk in the green room about this. But well, Hadrien, man, where can we send everybody to check out CryptoZ? Where should they go?
So we have a website, cryptoz.com, that's right now hosting Stingy Jack, who's about to leave. He's gonna go and live on Leinster. So, but I think this is where you're gonna find the podcast, listen to the show. This is where you're gonna find our Discord, and then everything from there. I think this is the best way to find us. So CryptoZ with an hyphen. So it's crypto-z.com.
Awesome. Yeah, everybody go check out CryptoZ. It's crypto-z.com or crypto-z.com. It's phenomenal. The artwork is top notch. You've heard from Hadrien. He's a phenomenal founder. Go support. Fantastic team. I love them. They've been around a while, man, and it's just hardcore hustle. I love it. So go check it out. Hadrien, man, thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you so much, Todd. And you've been inspired. You know, although this has been an inspiring thing for about a year, and I've been keeping it in my mind and sharing it around. It's like, hey, those guys are just so fucking unique. How come they're not like? It's just, yeah. Thank you so much for such an inspiring, project in the space.
Appreciate you, man. Of course. Likewise, dude. Likewise. I've been telling everybody about CryptoZ for a long time, man. You know that. But awesome. Everybody, thank you so much. Be sure to leave a comment. I'm going to bring Dusty. I'm bringing Dusty. Dusty's pointing to himself. I'm going to bring him up. I wasn't going to forget. Hey, Dusty.
Hey. It looked like you might forget. So
no. I was leading up to it. We're good.
I need my 30 seconds of stardom. Excellent. So we have a giveaway tonight for, what are we giving away? A Mint Pass #1. Very soon, we haven't said when yet, but very soon, Origin Comic #1's coming out.
Like within the next couple of weeks, everybody.
Yeah. Soon.
Soon. Like real
so
soon.
We'll have more details to follow on that, but here's your chance to pick up another Mint Pass for another Origin Comic #1.
Let's do it.
So hang on, how do I participate? Let's see. I want my comic,
dude. We got to get you. We got it.
We'll inscribe me,
Hadrien. I got you covered. Oh, look at this.
All right, there was so much. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Oh, let's do this.
This is cool. What is it?
This is a picker wheel.
This is our prize wheel. We call it the Wheel of KG because KG normally wins.
We always just say KG wins whether he wins or not.
All right, we ready? I think we're ready.
Let's go for it.
Click.
Watch KG win. No way!
Whoa!
Yay, KG! Woohoo!
You finally won one, KG.
Congrats, KG! Love it, man. So awesome.
Barely. Barely. Can we watch it again? I feel like maybe we should have the referee. Like it was really close.
Yeah. Willie D says unreal.
Oh yeah, Willie D got a little robbed right there. Just by a quarter of an inch.
That was super close. Well, KG's like, yeah, baby, Rage is the way to go. Yeah, awesome, guys. That's pretty funny. Well, dude, congratulations, KG, and yeah, we'll hook you up as always. So that'll be coming ASAP. And anyway, I'll go ahead. We'll wrap this up. So, Hadrien, once again, thank you so much. Everybody in chat, thank you guys. Everybody listening at home, love you as well. Appreciate you. Come by, check out the Discord. We're going to be doing after party games tonight. I don't know what the game is, but we're going to be doing that for a while. So hop into Discord. Go check out CryptoZ at crypto-z.com. Like, comment, follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. Tell your friends about it. Tell your mom. Bring all the moms over here. It's good. And that came out weird. Anyway, love you guys. Talk to you soon. Peace out. Bye. Later.